What is up, my beautiful, amazing, wonderful people? How are you guys today? As always, just finished a makeup video, so I wanted to go ahead and film another video that I have had in mind for a hot minute. And if you can't tell, we're using the front-facing camera. So not only is this awkward and uncomfortable, but if things look a little bit different, if the like focus goes in and out or anything, I'm learning, so bear with me. I had to check my pizza because of course I'm making pizza. I don't know why I'm always making pizza when I have a YouTube video to film, but I don't just eat pizza, I swear. I barely ever eat it. But here we are again. This time it's Supreme Pizza. So today, the main topic, I was going between two topics. I have a lot of things to tell you, and my messed up brain is trying to say all of them at once. So basically, first and foremost, I haven't been making a lot of videos. I think a lot of you know, maybe some of you don't. My past couple of videos were just little updates telling you about what's been going on. I've been pretty busy at home. I've been looking for a job. I've been making music. I've been doing all kinds of that stuff. Also, just trying to learn more about content creation and get better at it. So there's that. I haven't really just had the time, but finally, all the crazy busyness has significantly lessened. So now we have time. That out of the way. Second, it looks like I busted my lip. I didn't. I have a really bad problem with like picking at skin. I have really bad like fingers because I pick at them. So if you see that, nobody punched me in the face. I didn't fall down some stairs. I can't stop picking at anything that is loose on my body. So we'll leave that behind. I would have put lipstick on it, but that's not good for you. And of course, there is a train. This is like clockwork, dude. One of my last videos, I have talked to you guys about how I was visiting family and how that's super traumatizing and super hard. And it was super traumatizing and super hard. So we're back home and things are better now. But since I'm just kind of coming back from all that craziness, I want to do a fun video first. So we're going to do a fun video first. And what we're going to talk about is I live in Florida, and I think that all the Florida man stories and all the lore behind Florida is hilarious. GTA 6 is going to be based in Florida, so I figured why not tell you some stories about what it's like to grow up in Florida. Because if you're not from here, then maybe you don't know how weird it is, or maybe you do and you've only heard stories and you like wonder if those are real. Whatever it is, I'm here to tell you about what it's like to live in Florida. So I'm going to start off by saying, obviously, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. This is just my experience. I'm not calling anybody out in this video or like talking shit on anybody specifically or any kind of people. So take it as you will. It's mostly crazy animal encounters. So let's just get into it. I have a couple of stories from across my lifetime. The first one being the time that my best friend, Alexis, and I were chased by an alligator. So, living in Florida, there's a lot of nature around. Pretty much anywhere, any town, any place you live. I'm sure even in a place like Miami or Orlando, if you go far enough, you will find some woods, you will find a swamp, you will find paths to walk and get yourself into trouble with the local wildlife. So, my friend and I, she lived on a dirt road. And one day, I actually have two stories about her. I just remembered one. One day, we decided to go walking in a trail behind her house, right? And we had done this a lot before, but we never went this far. So we kept going through this trail. I mean, like maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, we walked it. And we came across this big open field. And I still don't know what was originally here. I can't even get back to that place because I don't even live in that town anymore. But we came across structures, like a bunch of really, really old broken down walls and little areas where it was clear that there was buildings. And there were a lot of these little like sinkhole ponds, right? It rains a lot here, and I don't know if these had accumulated over time, if they were dug out, we'll get to that, or if it was from the buildings crumbling down. Again, I mean, if you want context, this place looked like an old Civil War battlefield just forgotten in time. Literally a massive field, some old stone structures. It was, I can remember it so vividly, and I was like 11. So we came across a lot of these holes, and they were full of water, and we were taught in school about alligators. Like, growing up in Florida, you know about alligators. They teach you. They teach you to run in zigzags, which is not true. Don't run in zigzags, you just run. You don't zigzag. That's silly. But yeah, so we knew that these little dens, these little holes could have gators. Like, we knew any body of water, you need to be aware that there could be gators in it. So, we tried not to really mess with anything or go near those because we were smart enough to understand what happens with alligators. We played around a little bit and we decided to leave. And in this little area through the trees that we couldn't see as we were leaving, we heard hissing, which is a very common occurrence for angry alligators. They hiss at you, and it's a very guttural, very deep. You can't mistake it for a snake. You definitely can't. It's a weird noise. And I remember being so scared. We never looked back, but we ran so fucking fast that it was like both chubby little kids too. We ran so fast out of there, never told our parents, never told an adult, didn't ever go back there, didn't tell anybody what was back there. This is just something her and I know and experience because this was like off her property too. Don't know how else you could get to it. Don't know what it was. Don't know if I actually got chased by a gator or if it was just kind of a warning shot. But that's the first gator story. Quite a few of these are gator stories, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm going to go into a second story about gators, and then the next story after that won't be. On the topic of gators, I grew up in an apartment complex, right? And this apartment complex was right next to a sewage treatment kind of facility. It wasn't actually sewage. I think it was just another kind of wastewater. I mean, it never smelled bad out there that I remember, but it was a water treatment facility. And they had big retention ponds. And there was fencing around these retention ponds so people couldn't get in, animals and stuff like that. So we're just living our best life in our apartment complex, and don't growl at him. My grumpy cat is growling. So we're living our best lives in this apartment complex, and I remember I would play randomly. So I went to the fencing of this pond, and I don't remember if this was before or after, but you already know the stories about a gator. So I had gone to this fencing and noticed there was a massive hole, like this big, just kind of pushed through the fence, pointing towards our complex. Again, I don't know if this was before or after the occurrence, but some pets started to go missing in our neighborhood. We lived in a complex. Animals, it was hard to get in and out of. There's only a couple entrances. So what I'm thinking happened is this gator got in, couldn't get out, and was, hunting as it would. And the unfortunate part was a lot of these were closed in porches too. So screened in door, bust in the screened in door, get the dog, get the cat. I know that's terrible. I won't elaborate any longer. A couple of pets went missing, I think 2 or 3. I did a school project on this. And after about a week, I'd say, they found the gator. He was on a woman's back porch or front porch. When she went to go outside, she opened her door and there was a massive 8-foot, I believe it was, alligator. And called animal services, Animal Services came and picked it up. We got pictures of it. I remember being right at the front of the van when they were taking it away, and I kind of gently touched its tail, and I felt really bad for it because it was kind of like strung up. Like they tie them up and then they duct tape their legs, because not only can, or they duct tape their mouths and then they tie up their legs, because not only can they bite you, but they are insanely strong. They can knock you out with just their tail. So I felt really bad, and we got some pictures, and then later that week or something, I did a school project where I got to show all of the students in my class that a gator was in my apartment complex, and pictures, and all I really had to do was a presentation about the dangers of alligators and alligator safety, and I felt very cool because I got to tell all my friends. And then, I don't know why my mom did this. I guess we can save that for the next video. But she told me that the alligator was too big and that they had to put it down, which I don't know if they do anymore. But what I was told in the past is that an alligator can be up to a certain size. And then if they catch it where it's not supposed to be and it's bigger than that size, they're able to put it down for safety reasons, which I don't agree with. I adore alligators. I adore them. I live in their domain. I can walk like not even a minute away and there's gators. Like I live near canals and water. If there's water, there's gators. And I adore them. I could literally go see them right now. We have signs in our place that are these weren't around when I was a kid, okay? They were not around, and now they're around, but they say, please do not feed or molest the gators, and they're in front of like every body of water, especially where I live, because there's a lot of tourism and people like to come here and they like to fish and they like to feed the alligators, which makes the alligators feel more comfortable around humans, and it is a huge problem here. Have you ever seen Lake Placid? So many people feed alligators, it's not even funny. These guys are not hungry. They have plenty of food. So we'll leave the subject of gators behind and talk about bears for a second. Because if you didn't worry, if you're not scared of gators, if you're not scared of reptiles, we have bears. And although these are black bears, which are pretty non-aggressive or known to be not very aggressive, they still mess your shit up. Where another place I used to live, my mom's old house, we had such a bad bear problem that not only did we have to have bear-proof trash cans, but just all of the precautions that we had to take for these nosy ass bears. Oh my god, it was crazy. We would get magnets from the state. We would get little posters and flyers that say, watch out for bears. We lived near a nature reserve, so there wasn't really avoiding them. I lived in like a lower middle class kind of, not the place you'd think bears were running rampant, but of course they were, because that's where food was. And it's still a problem out there because the nature reserve can't be built on. And there's no, it's not like fencing, it's not like it's a protected land area, but it's not public, and there's no fencing. It's just kind of, this is special wetlands, nobody can touch it. There are gopher turtles that live there, and it's all very protected, very cool. Support that, love that. But the bears, they don't know boundaries. And not only has a bear tried to get into my mom's house, but it tried to get into my mom's house to pull my poor dog out of the window, because we'd leave the windows open sometimes, and the dogs were very nosy and they did not like the bears and they barked a lot. One time this black bear comes up to our window and is like scratching at the screen, and our dog's losing it, and the bear is like trying to grab the dog, but he's like screaming and yelping, and my mom comes out, scares the bear off, because they're babies, they get scared of anything. And yeah, I tried to pull the dog through the window, the poor freaking dog, and the dog didn't know any better. He was just barking at what he thought was a threat. And I remember the scariest encounter that I had with a bear. Hold that thought. Because also, a bear broke into my ex's sister's chicken coop. And the funniest part about that was it didn't hurt a single chicken. It ravaged through all of their feed. It didn't care about the chickens. When we went out the next morning, all the chickens were roaming around. One was sitting on top of the sideways coop, just sitting there. And we counted all the chickens, and every single one was there, and every single one was fine. But all the feed was gone. He just wanted the feed. But back to my scary story with the bear. It used to get really foggy in that area where I lived, very close to the other area, by the way, where my ex's sister lived, less than a mile away. So it used to get really foggy out there, and I had to take our trash down one day, and I could not see. And I remember they were like, hey, bear alert, there's a lot of bears out right now, because they had seasons kind of when they were out more. And basically, I took the trash down, or I was supposed to get the trash cans. I don't know which. But yeah, I did that. And while I was doing so, could hear like a huffing noise. It was like, and I kept hearing that, which freaked me out because I knew exactly what it was. And so I'm looking around, but I can't see anything. It's dark. It's foggy. I shouldn't be outside in the first place, but thought it would be fine because it's 20 feet away from my door. So I start slowly walking to my front door, and as I'm walking, I hear just I feel and hear steps. Couldn't have been more than 5 feet away from me. Way too heavy to be a person, and that is what I believe was my very, very close encounter with a bear. Did I ever see it? No, but you know what a bear sounds like. And it was one of the top most terrifying moments in my life because it was almost like I could feel its breath. It was right fucking there. I could feel its footprints on the ground through my feet from the grass. And I walked slowly. And then once I knew I was like close enough to my door to make it, I ran to my door. And I made it. So I think he was just curious. I am very much for like animals, even predatory animals. This is their space. We're here. We're the ones ruining it. It's not their fault. I don't blame any of them. It's kind of turning into like an animal Florida story time. So I've been trying to think of stories that didn't involve animals, but then any stories that don't involve animals kind of involve like crackheads and stuff like that, which no shade. I don't have judgment towards addicts, homeless people, anything like that. Like I said at the beginning, this is no discrimination of any type of group of people, but you do encounter some crazy stuff out there. So I'm trying to leave that out because, like, there's the Florida man aspect of it, but then there's also the addiction aspect of it. And we deal with a lot of homeless people, a lot of addicts, and a lot of people who just aren't in their right mind mentally. And I don't want to talk shit on those people. So I do my best to avoid them. Though one time at a grocery store, a man came up to my husband and I, and was like, excuse me, do you guys make music? And we're like, no, why? And he's like, I just wanted to let you know that I think that you should start making music. He's like, you guys have the look down. You look so cool. You really draw a lot of attention to yourselves. So if you wanted any advice from me, and he had said he was like a recorder who had toured around with bands back in the day. This was like at the grocery store. And it was really crazy because it inspired me to want to start making music. My husband's not so much. He has a different like way of enjoying his downtime. I have to make stuff or I will like go insane. He likes to relax and chill. I don't blame him for that. It was just so strange like how this guy approached us, and we have a lot of jokes about like, oh, we met Jesus at the gas station, because we've also met people like this random guy. We were getting in a car at a gas station once, and he was like, hey, I just want to let you guys know that you can get through anything. You can do it. His wife was sitting there in the car. These were like two older people. And he's like, you can do it. I can tell that you're good people, and I can tell that you care about each other. So as long as you have love and blah, 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 all this inspirational stuff, he's like, you can get through anything. And that was really crazy because we were having a hard time at that time. And usually older people don't like to approach us. We live in a very like senior heavy area. And yeah, for some reason, he just felt the need to tell us that, and we really appreciated it. And we call him God because we like to say we met God at, I believe it was 7-Eleven. Another story, not as fun. Um, I used to live in a fun little place called Daytona, which, if you just saw what I said about people, there's a lot of interesting ones there. One time, we walked to the gas station and we were followed all the way home by a gentleman, which is crazy because we had a car and we just wanted to go for a nice walk. And genuinely were followed all the way home by somebody. He didn't catch up to us. We were very aware of him, and we were very paranoid, and we were very ready for anything. But for some reason, and we know he was following us because we turned a lot of streets on purpose to make sure he was following us, and he was following us. But we made it home all right. Typical of a Daytona, Florida night. Another fun story about Daytona, because I used to live there and I don't anymore, but I used to work at a pizza place right on the beach, and we got the most interesting characters there. The surprising thing is the amount of people who came to Daytona in its heyday. If you don't know Daytona Beach, look it up. It used to be the most famous beach in the world's most famous beach. They still tout that to this day. They still have the big signs from the 80s that say Daytona, world's most famous beach, even though it's not anymore. And the people that you would meet, interesting characters, nice people, crazy people, all kinds. And the amount of people that came down for spring break in the 80s or 90s and never left, insane. Like, there are people who came to Daytona to party in like 89 for spring break and never went home. Like, they didn't bring anything, they didn't plan on staying, and then they just never left. And it is mind-boggling the amount of people. You think I'm talking about one or two? We heard this story all the time. We were open until 5 a.m. Only restaurant out there open until 5 a.m. And some of the stories we got were just the most mind-blowing thing. I was like, you came down here with one suitcase and you never went home? Just never went home. Mostly older men too. Like, this isn't a trafficking thing or anything weird like this. Like, these people chose to stay in Daytona with nothing and rebuild their lives, and that just always like blew my mind. I could never imagine doing that, but I guess in a place like Florida in the 80s that was possible. So I really don't know. We have some crazy characters out here. We have a guy who built like his house onto his truck, and it's badass. I haven't actually seen him in like a year, but we talked to him a couple of times and asked him why he built onto his truck, and he said he was just tired of making house payments and he wanted something else, so he built a house on his truck, and it had an air conditioning unit and everything. This wasn't like a tiny home. This dude took plywood and like built a house on his truck, sold his house, and then just lived in his truck and drove around. Because a lot of places around here, you can park at Walmarts, yeah, but there's like a lot of places you can camp around here and kind of get away with it. Love's, Walmart, the side of the road, next to Love's, even where I work at a bowling alley, someone is posted up a couple days a week with an RV, and they even put the tent out and like have their truck next to it, and they just stay there, especially during bike week or Biketoberfest or the races. I live like 20 minutes from the Daytona 500 Speedway, and literally people can camp in a lot of places for free. If you travel and you need to camp in Florida, at least in Central Florida, it seems like one of the easiest things to do. Very last story I will tell is hurricanes, because I want to go eat my pizza, So, hurricanes. I know a lot of people have like their own assumptions or their own feelings towards weather. The Midwest has crazy weather, the South has crazy weather, everywhere has crazy weather. Hurricanes are not to be fucked with. I have been in so many hurricanes. I have had my home flooded, my neighborhood flooded, a tree fall on my house multiple times when I was a kid. We weren't in the state for that, but yeah, it happens, and it happens really regularly. A lot of people like to say they're not as bad as they seem, but a hurricane 1, like a category 1, can be just as damaging as a category 5. It all just depends on where you're at and how much rain. I almost got flooded into this place during one of our last really bad storms because the rain didn't stop for 4 days, and we have retention ponds, massive retention ponds, and a canal. So, retention pond on one side, canal on the other. The water rose to the shoreline and almost blocked out the road. And this year, not only have they released a new chart, a new cone, but also a new category for hurricanes, which is terrifying because we are prepared, but we don't know if our trailer will even survive another hurricane. Let me show you something. This is known as a tie-down kit. It is for hurricanes, so you can tie down your house and it doesn't blow away. Yes, we did actually pay for it because it is a necessity in Floridian households, depending on where you live. Depending because you might not need it if you live in a really nice place. I don't. I live in a trailer trying to get out before hurricane season because we genuinely don't think that this house is going to stand. So that's really fun. Personally, I have been outside during hurricanes. I've played in them. I've seen the eye of a hurricane, which is actually a really cool phenomenon because if you catch it at the right time, which is not advised to go outside during hurricanes, but you can see the wall of storm clouds within this crystal clear blue sky, sunny day. You can actually see the like storm rolling in all around you because it's not just like one area, it's completely around. It's very cool. I have had to sleep in the closet with the wind smacking against my windows, with the news playing consistently, talking about the insane weather. And I have actually visited the coastline where the past couple years ago, where the storm just took all those homes into the ocean. I will try to show you guys that sometime because it's still like that. The city basically told the people, you live on the coast, you gotta clean it up yourself. So, I mean, if you live on the coast, you're rich, but I just thought that was crazy that the city didn't want to like work on the cleanup efforts as well because it was their seawalls that were busted and they still have construction out there in these areas. It's crazy. Lots of like the boardwalk itself were ripped away, and just now they're fixing that. We got sinkholes, we got hurricanes, we got tornadoes. We're like the lightning capital of America. We got Florida men, we got dinosaurs, we got big ass bugs. It's crazy out here, and I absolutely adore it because not only all of these negatives, but there's so many positives. I have been to the springs so many times, and that's not to boast by any means. It's just, it's an amazing experience, and I do encourage people to come here. I can't say I encourage people to move here because that's causing a lot of issues with our economy and things of that nature. Pricing, it is super expensive to live here, and we're not sure how we're gonna move, but we're gonna try. And it's a magical place to live. I go to the beach a lot. I haven't been in a long time because it was just really hard with the coastline. A lot of the areas aren't safe or as accessible, and we just haven't been able to do it. But like living 15 minutes from the beach, living half an hour from the springs, living 45 minutes from Disney World, even though I I haven't gone to Disney since I was a little kid. It is super magical, and if you ever want to do a trip, I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend doing the nature parts of Florida. Like, I find stuff constantly. My husband and I will be driving around, and then all of a sudden on the side of the road is an abandoned plantation from like 1892, or an old resort in the middle of the woods that's been completely demolished and removed, and all you can find are the plaques talking about it. I mean, there are insane, amazing things out here. There's even a place called Green Springs, which is a sulfur spring, and that's about an hour from me, but you can drive out there, and it's like the most beautiful green, glowy, ethereal water that you've ever seen. It's some of the things that happen here are just, it's insane. The swamps, beautiful. That's why I always say that I'm like posting from the swamp, or I live in the swamp, because I do. I live in the swamps, and it's hot, and it's crazy sometimes, but I don't think that I would trade it for anything in the world, which is really funny because my husband can't stand it here. We don't have seasons, we just have hot and wet. And we don't have mountains, we just have sand. But I still love it. I'm still Florida born and raised. I love the people. I can't say I love the culture or the politics. And I think I'll leave it at that, unless you want me to make this a series. Then I will gladly make this a series, because I have countless, endless, never ending stories about Florida, the people, the places, the things. I could talk about it all day. So, that being said, oh, also, we do an annual yearly trip to St. Augustine, and I posted a video last year, a little concert vlog. I always try to name drop that because people haven't seen it, and I think it's like my best vlog. But we're going back this year for our vacation. In fact, I live like 45 to 50 minutes from the oldest settlement in America. And I say oldest settlement in America because Native Americans were here far before anybody came and colonized it. So we say oldest settlement in America. And I can't wait to go back, and I'm going to vlog it to show you guys. I also have something I'm working on tomorrow. And that being said, I am going to go eat my pizza now, but I also wanted to tell you guys that I have, after all this craziness and all this busyness, I have decided that we are going to have a more routine schedule here, and I will be working on videos every Thursday. So videos are going to start being posted every Thursday or Friday. I'm going to give myself a 2-day window for editing, but once a week, for sure. Hold me to it. For sure, I want to do that. And from there on, we'll see where it goes and how much more I can add. Right now, that's what I have to work with. And yeah, I hope you guys like my stories. I hope that the footage looks okay. And I love you as always. Bye.